Part 133. A victory or loss. Scholars differ as to whether the Battle of Mu'tah was a victory or loss. A group of scholars view Mu'tah as a victory, as the Prophet described it as such. He received news from Jibril of events in real time, narrating it to the companions in Medina. The Prophet described the events. Zayd took the flag and was killed. Then Ja'far took it and was killed. Then Ibn Rawaha took it and was killed. The narrator added, "The Prophet's eyes began to tear, and Aisha commented that the Prophet was forced to sit down out of emotion." The Prophet continued, "Until a sword from amongst the swords of Allah, that is Khalid, took the flag and Allah granted them victory." Moreover, out of 3,000 combatants, less than 1% of the Muslim army died, which is a positive outcome by any means. This is the view of Musa ibn Uqba, a Seerah expert and contemporary of Ibn Ishaq, as well as the likes of al-Bayhaqi and Ibn Kathir. Others describe the battle as a loss. Simply put, the Muslims retreated, which is not typically the characteristic of the victor. Moreover, the Muslims lost their 3 leaders consecutively, all of whom were highly influential figures. The companions deeply mourned their loss, and they suffered emotionally for a while following the battle. This is the view of al-Waqidi and Ibn Sa'd, as well as most non-Muslim historians. Ibn Ishaq, Ibn Abdul Barr, Ibn al-Qayyim, and many other scholars view the Battle of Mu'tah as a neutral outcome, that is, a draw. They argue that both armies suffered similar casualties. Neither army captured any prisoners of war, and there was no definitive victory on either side. There is a case to be made that all 3 opinions hold weight. Militarily, the Muslims retreated. However, the Prophet described it as a victory, which is a theological perspective. Similarly, the Prophet described Hudaybiyah as a victory despite the short-term loss. It transpired to be a resounding success in the long term, as promised. Following the Battle of Mu'tah, the Roman Empire would be brought down to its knees, and this battle can be viewed as the first meeting within a greater war. Therefore, it could be said that the battle was lost, while paving the way for the war to be won. Moreover, the Battle of Mu'tah made it clear to the international powers that the Muslim state was an international force to be reckoned with. The Roman and Persian empires viewed the Arabs as backward, desert-dwelling Bedouins, hence the brazen disrespect shown by the Ghassanid chieftain, but Mu'tah categorically dispelled that notion. In short, the Muslims did not defeat the enemy on the battlefield, but many successes were achieved. A few days after their return to Medina, a smear campaign of sorts was being spread, perhaps by some hypocrites, against the participants of Mu'tah. The Prophet saw the wife of Salamah ibn Hisham and asked, "Is there something wrong with Salamah? I haven't seen him in the mosque." His wife replied,
"No, by Allah, but he has not left his house, because every time he leaves, people mock him, saying, 'O you who fled, have you fled from the path of Allah?'"
The Prophet then addressed the congregation. "They are not those who flee, Farar. They are those who regroup to fight again, Qarar." The Prophet found a group of the companions sitting together, crying. The Prophet asked why they were crying, and they replied,
"Why should we not cry, O Messenger of Allah, when the best and the most noble of us has left?"
They were of course referring to the 3 martyred leaders. Indeed, the Prophet was narrated to have teared up when he saw Usama ibn Zayd, who closely resembled his noble father. The Prophet replied to them, "But do not cry, for the example of my ummah is a garden whose owner has cut its leaves and branches, such that each year gives a better crop than the last." He added, "The Dajjal will meet this ummah, and there will be a group that he meets that are like you or even better. And Allah will not humiliate an ummah in which I am the first and the Messiah is the last."